Morning, morning, morning. Yes, we're back with another episode, another rider. Today we have Guy in the car. And Guy is an expert in his own right, and he's going to tell us about what he does, how he got into it. So nice to have you here today, Guy.
It's lovely to be here. Thank you for asking me to do this in this 10-minute taxi drive we've got.
So what is it you do? Tell us, and how did you get into it?
Yeah, so my background or my skill set's growing businesses, essentially taking a business from a couple of £1 million in revenue to ideally £700 million in revenue, very much focused on tech, private equity-backed companies. So how did I get into it? Well, I came out of university, had no idea what I wanted to do, and I had a friend that wanted to be a rock and roll star. So we moved to London, set up a record label, and figured I had to have a job at the same time, and did not want to work in a big bank or for a big consultancy. It was 2002, end of the dot-com crash, and went and became an appointment setter at a company losing £10 million a year, but had raised £50 million from Goldman Sachs.
Okay, that's impressive. So what did you study at uni?
I studied business management and marketing, but probably I studied drinking more than anything. So for the first year at least, and then I worked very hard in my last year and came out with a joint honours double first.
Okay. Now, you've got a lot of people, motivational speakers out there and business people on social media who say, don't bother with university unless it's a degree that you really need to do to get to where you need to get to, as in like a doctor or a lawyer. What's your take on that based on your experience and yours?
That's a great question. And I think my view on that's changed actually. So early on in my career, I probably felt you did have to have a degree. But now I think there's a lot of degrees that aren't really worth any money. And in fact, I've hired thousands of people over the years, and some of the best people I've ever hired have never even done A-levels. And they've learned from the ground up, from some really tough family situations, and have done exceptionally well. So for me now, I don't even look at educational background. What I look for is attitude and approach.
Okay. So the attitude's right, then they can learn.
You've got to be willing to learn, willing to work hard, and not think that you're everything to everyone, and can go with the flow, but also challenge people in the right way. I think it's really important that everyone has their view and are not going to be really disruptive in an organisation, but you want new ideas all the time.
Oh, fresh blood. I see what you mean. What have you learned about the industry that you wish you knew when you had started?
That it's really tough. It's hard to grow a company from nothing. It's really hard to have an idea, but hard work really pays off. And so I probably could have worked a bit harder early in my career. I could have gone and worked for companies that I know have been sold for billions of pounds, and I'd be on a Caribbean island. But it's really hard to spot that. So it's really about making sure you love what you're doing and enjoying that.
If someone wants to get into the route of what you do today, what would be your best advice on how to get there?
Be prepared to start at the bottom and work your way up. There's no job that's below you. You don't know, and get into a company that you believe in. So whether that be, I invest in a company called Patch, which is an online garden centre.
Okay.
But it has a really big ethos about being carbon neutral. It's a B Corp. If that's your passion, work for a company like that. Don't go and work for a fintech that's just trying to revolutionise banking and might not be with your ethos. So you've got to believe in what you're doing, and if you believe in what you do, you've got a really great shot.
Because obviously you work for companies, and where I'm a bit lost is how you suddenly get to the point of where you manage to own or be part owner. How does that work?
Yeah, so look, most startups in tech, whatever level you are coming in, there's a philosophy that everyone should have ownership in the company. Oh. So they have a thing called stock options, and as part of your remuneration package, you get a few options in the company. So if it does scale and sell, you can make some money. There's a fairly famous story about the first cleaner for Facebook became a multi-millionaire because she was employee number 25, got a bit of stock because that's the ethos, and she literally, when this company sold, I think she made something like $25 million.
So basically, it doesn't matter what you do in life, you can still become part of a company if you find the right. If you're a cleaner, go and find the right cleaning company, the startup company.
I mean, it's very high. The chances. It's like winning the lottery for that lady, I think. But back to the point. And you don't get very much when you're very junior. But as you get more senior, as you add more value to the organisation, you absolutely can earn some decent money if the company's successful. So the more value you add, the more value you get in return. But the way you view options is just assume that they're worthless, and if they sell for something at some point, great, because the thing with startups, most companies fail, but you can learn a lot from failure as well.
Because when you came in to a company, what was your position at where you was the lowest?
I was an appointment setter, so my job was to make 80 calls a day, cold calling people to set up appointments for our sales team to go and try and generate business.
And that's where the knowledge of Chris Voss comes in, where you...
Yeah, well, I came across Chris Voss a bit later in life, actually through Masterclass, which is, he does his Masterclass, and I thought it was fascinating. But I've always been an avid reader. I think that's just, there's so much to get out there, both in the business world, but also I think it's important to read widely, because you can get, lots of people say read The Art of War, which is a Chinese military book, and there's lots of stuff you can pick up choosing business from books, so I think it's an important thing.
What does the future hold for you?
Well, I'm currently scaling my fifth company. I will probably be there for another 3 to 4 years. Make sure the kids are going on well at school. I've got 3 of them. And to see, ideally one day I'll have an idea myself, because I've never had the idea to really start from the beginning, but I hope to one day.
Is there any way somebody could, if they don't work for a startup but they hear about it, that they can make investments with that company?
Sure. So probably the way that happens is through crowdsourcing today, crowdfunding, where companies, rather than taking from the traditional private equity venture capital world, will take money we'll put an idea up on crowdfunding page, and people can invest from as little as like £10.
Okay. And so it all becomes legal noted, and then they get a percentage back.
Exactly.
What would be advice to the 16-year-old you?
Work harder at school.
Okay. Well, thanks a lot for that. We're coming near to the end of the journey, and I don't want to keep you.
It's been an absolute pleasure, and what a very random thing to be doing on my Wednesday morning, but I appreciate you asking me to do it. Thank you.
Thanks a lot. Bye.
Bye.
We hope that episode enhanced your life. We post an interview every day, as well as vlogging on our social media channels. Don't forget to subscribe to get our latest episode.